And we are live. What's going on, YouTube Live? It's your boy, Billy Rowe. Today is Tuesday. I'd like to welcome you to the first row. And if it is Tuesday, you should know what that means. It's time for a first row Intersation. Tonight, we are doing the topic of manifesting your dreams with my guest, Dameon Wroe. If you could, Dameon, please say hello to the people.
Hey, people, what's good? What's good? I miss you guys, man. Man, I'm so blessed to be back on the first row. It's a good feeling. I'm excited about talking about manifesting your dreams. And I hope to be able to say something tonight and share something tonight that'll help you manifest your dreams as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as always with Intersations, I think we're going to do this until the end of the month of June. And then after the end of the month of June, we're not going to say what an Intersation is. You're going to have to catch a replay to figure that out. But as always with Intersations for the rest of this month, I like to say what an Intersation is. So Intersation is simply when you take an interview and a conversation, you put the two together and you get what I call Intersation. Now, in my life, I'm very fortunate to have a robust network of friends, family, coworkers, cousins, strangers, all kinds of people that I talk to on a frequent basis. And in our conversations, we tend to go beyond the surface level of, oh, how have you been, what you're up to, all those different things, into much more deeper, meaningful conversation that prompts questions such as, what does that mean to you? Why do you think that way? Where do you think that originated from? And in those conversations, they typically inspire a robust amount of growth. And so, as you know, if you know anything about the first row, we are about growth on this network. So yes, what Intersations is a means for me to literally open up a lens into those conversations so that you as the viewer can experience the growth that is had in those conversations. Now, first row is not just a network where you watch and you just look at the screen and listen. This is a very interactive network. So one of the things that we require on Intersations is if you're going to be in here watching, then be a part of the conversation, interact. If you have a nugget that you think that you have that's of value to share, share it in the chat. If you have a question that you want to ask it, and we'll bring that into the live conversation. I really want you to be engaged so that you can, again, experience the growth that we're experiencing, but you can also contribute to the growth. So the growth isn't all on Dameon and I. So though you'll see Dameon and I speaking live visually tonight back and forth, realize that you are very much a part of this conversation. This is more of a group conversation than it is an interview. So with that, Mark Anthony, welcome. Glad to see you. Missed you last week because we didn't have an Intersation, but glad you're here live and ready to go today. Let's build some dreams. So with that, without further ado, let's jump into tonight's topic, manifesting your dreams with Dameon Wroe. So he already said hello to the people. But before we even give you a chance to dive a little deeper into that introduction, I want to bring to the surface that this is the second Intersation that you've been on, where the first one was preserving self-preservation in relationships. This is the second Intersation that you've been on, and I like the contrast and the topics from preserving yourself, moving into, now that you've preserved yourself, really into the space of how do you now develop your dreams and how do you build upon that identity that you've been preserving. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also very happy because a lot of the times that we've had between your first Intersation to now, there has been the offer that you provided for Modern Day Mentor, for the first row viewers. And so now we're on the other side for, oh, Modern Day Mentor is coming, Modern Day Mentor is coming, like, the British are coming, to now we're on the other side of that coin to where it's out, it's available. And so I'm really looking to share some of the insights, or for you to share some of the insights of that book now that it is available for consumption. So with that, I'm gonna give you the floor really quick, just to further introduce yourself, let the people know what you're about, and we can jump into tonight's topic.
So thank you, guys. Thank you for that introduction, Billy. And you know what? Before I even get started, I really want to throw it back to you. A lot has happened since our last Intersation in November. And like you said, from then to now, I mean, it has also been a journey. And it hasn't been a very smooth journey, but a journey nevertheless. And so as we were talking about the forthcoming book, Modern Day Mentor, get your pre-sale orders in. I mean, you want to talk about manifestation. I mean, the book is here. The book is here, selling very well, empowering people, changing lives, and just the feedback that I'm getting from the book, from people who have bought it and already finished reading it. Some people are only 3 or 4 chapters in. The feedback that I'm getting is phenomenal. It's a very rewarding experience to be on this side of the time clock, to where I can kind of take a seat and kick my feet up for a little while and just kind of really enjoy the fruits of my labor. And when I say enjoy the fruits of my labor, I'm not talking about it from a monetary standpoint. The monetary success is going to come regardless. That's going to come by default. But remember, the purpose of this book was to move, touch, and inspire people. And in order for me to do that, I decided, just like I did in the last Intersation, I think we did in like late November or middle November, I decided to peel back my own scabs of things that I've gone through in my life in an effort to help other people heal and try to kind of make sense of things that they're dealing with. You know, so Modern Day Mentor is here. Man, it came in with a bang, and it's going to be around. It's like I tell people, Modern Day Mentor is that Ribbon in the Sky song. It ain't going nowhere.
Ribbon in the sky.
It ain't going nowhere, brother. But I'm so blessed that I have this opportunity to share with people and be sitting here on the first row again. I'm just ready to answer whatever questions people may have for me, whatever feedback. I'm ready to dive in and start spitting some nuggets that I can leave people with to better enrich their life, to give people permission to dream again, and also to empower people and give a sense of hope to people who feel hopeless in the circumstances that they may currently be dealing with.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get into that then, because as you see, the topic being manifest your dreams, or manifesting your dreams, it has to empower, it has to provide that, well, I mean, you said it best, permission to be able to make that move from concept to manifestation. So I'm looking forward to tonight's topic. Let's jump straight into it. We got Mark Anthony. He says the Net Network. I'll call you the Net Network, Mark, but I call you Mark Anthony. I'm going to probably mess up on that a bunch of times tonight. But let's jump into it. So as you know, with every Intersation that I do, I like to start with the same question and end with the same question. So since we're at the beginning, let's get to it. The very first question I like to ask is for you, Dameon, and I'm going to call you brother because I don't really call you Dameon. So just so you guys know, transparency, this is my big brother Almighty. But for my first question that I want to ask you, brother, is for you, what does this topic mean to you, manifesting your dreams? Because that's a very powerful statement. So what does that mean to you?
So my perspective on manifesting your dreams is, when you think of manifesting something, you're living in a place of faith that whatever you're dreaming about is going to come forth. It's going to manifest because you've been praying about it. You've already asked God about it. You've already asked God's permission to bring it into your life and allow you to have it. It's just a matter of time. And when I say matter of time, I mean in his time. It's just a matter of time before that idea or that goal or that dream becomes a manifestation. He has brought it to pass. And so for me, for example, this book is very near and dear to my heart because I had to relive so many dark times in my past life in order to paint a vivid enough picture for society to be able to look at their own situation, at their own life, and pull themselves up out of the dumps of whatever has them at rock bottom. I mean, when I talk about past situations that have empowered me and inspired me to write this book, I mean, at one point in time in my life 15 years ago, I was literally at a place that made rock bottom look like the place to be.
Right, like a beachfront property.
Oh yeah. Umbrella in the sand with the margaritas and everything. Like, I mean, that was my life. And it was literally one of the scariest moments in my life where, because of what I was going through, most people who would have been going through the things that I was going through back then would not have, they would have ran away from it. But because of the fact that I had to prove my innocence to the world, basically, I had to run to it. And it really wasn't such an uncomfortable feeling for me to run to it, because that has been most of my life. Challenge after challenge after challenge after challenge. It became so much a part of my life where it was almost expected. So when adversity would strike, I didn't tuck my tail and run. The only thing I knew to do was to run toward it, identify it for what it was, and figure out a way to beat it and figure out a way to win. But when I went through this last situation 15 years ago, it really broke me. It really broke me. I didn't have the faith to pray. And most people who know me know that I love to sing. I'm like a singing fool. Like, I love to sing. I couldn't utter a word to sing. You know, I missed my family. I felt like I was in gladiator school, and to a certain degree I was. You know, and so to be in an environment that was foreign to me, it took away hope from my life. I didn't have any hope. And when I was able to be strong enough to hold on to my faith, I had hope for a moment. So I lived in hope momentarily, periodically throughout the day, throughout the week. And I never thought that I would really see this day come to where I could continue my writing career to the point where I could put something out on the market so powerful that even if I never promoted it, it would sell itself. And it's here. So, and I have to add this, Billy, because this is very important. I really want to highlight somebody right now, because like I was talking about that dark period that most people would have ran away from. And we talked about this in the last Intersation too. We talked about the village.
Right.
So here's another situation where that village plays a very critical part in the fact that I was at my lowest point in life. And I remember talking on the phone to a detective who I knew was looking for me. But because I knew I was innocent, I felt okay with talking to him enough to see what this was all about. So when he told me what it was all about, and that he was actually looking for me to bring me in, I specifically remember telling him, don't waste your gas to come look for me. You give me 48 hours to take care of my affairs, and I'll come to you. So keeping my word, I did that. And when I did that and turned myself in to face these allegations that were malicious and unfounded and totally not true, I had somebody who has always been in my village right by my side, and that's a gentleman by the name of Ron Marbury. And at the time, Ron Marbury was a sworn captain of the police department that he worked for, major police department. And so that was very impressionable to people, because here I am turning myself in to face, you know, these erroneous allegations, and I turned myself into the police with me. So that kind of threw a lot of people off guard. Like, you know, this man has turned himself into our office and he got pulled up in a police car. Right. You know, and so I said all of that to say that I really want to publicly thank Ron Marbury for seeing enough in me. And we're going to talk about this later, how we've laid this out in the chapters of Modern Day Mentor. But I thank Ron Marbury enough that he saw enough in me to help me protect my integrity, and to help me protect my dignity, and to help me protect my name. And he stood there with me from the very first day I turned myself in until the very last day where I was, you know, acquitted and I came home. So I really thank the people in my village. I always remind them whenever I have a platform to do so, or whenever I have an opportunity, I always thank the people in my village for being in my village, because I did not come this far on my journey to success by myself. I didn't get here with no help. I am a product of the village that I talked to you guys about back in November of 2018. And so I really had to echo that, so that, you know, good vibes and things like that will return to me, for making sure you never forget the people who allowed you to be where you are.
Okay, okay. But brother, dang, brother, that was a long answer to what the topic means to you, but I understand it is that it's not even paying it forward, it's honoring the people who have helped you get to the place where you can even manifest your dreams. Because when you're facing what you had to face, manifesting a dream is like I'm trying to manifest some freedom. I'm trying to manifest some peace of mind, some
Absolutely.
sanity.
Absolutely.
But it deters and takes away a lot from your ability to try to manifest greater and more powerful things. So I definitely understand that. For myself, I actually, from what you're talking about on what this topic means, I really, when you say faith, that resonates with me. And I don't go very spiritual very often, but really manifestation, when I was writing the word manifestation earlier today, it was like it took me to a faith-based place where, you know, you're believing in that unseen product, or that unseen service, or that unseen whatever it may be. You're believing in that to come into the reality, almost to the sense in which you're pulling it into the reality that you and I are experiencing right now, that we're all experiencing right now. And so when I started thinking about manifesting the dreams, I really started thinking about the faith and the pull that is necessary to bring our dreams from this mental landscape, which is untangible in today's reality, to the physical landscape in which we all operate in trade commerce on, whether it's conversation, you know, buying and selling goods, whatever it may be. That's where, you know, it almost goes back to the arguments that you have when you're in relationships. Well, you know, I'm not a mind reader. And so as beautiful as what you have in your mind may be, or as ugly as what you have in your mind may be, people don't have the ability to go in there and experience that. And it really becomes, for your dreams, whether you're the viewer or Dameon or myself, for our dreams, it becomes our responsibility to bring that which is on the inside of us to the outside for the world to experience and hopefully enjoy. So when I think about this topic, that's what this topic really means to me. It's about pulling that out, pulling whatever's within, or pulling whatever's within our mental space, pulling that out to a place to where it can be exposed, and realize that even in that exposure of that dream, there's some vulnerability there that you have to face. So that's what it means.
And Billy, you said something just now, a moment ago, that I really don't want to race over. I really want people to get this, how faith works with manifestation. We ourselves, as human carnal people, don't manifest anything. We don't manifest anything unless God permits us to walk into what he is manifesting for us. Life is not about our own individual purpose. It's about his purpose. So something that you said about faith made me remember the scripture that says, for without faith, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So that scripture is evidence that Billy and Dameon don't manifest anything because we're so intelligent and we're so smart and we're so talented. We walk into what God has manifested for us in our life, and we are rewarded, just like the scripture says. He is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So because I am a believer, modern day mentor really and truly is a reward based on what I asked for in prayer long ago.
True. And actually what you're touching on right now is really my next question that I want to bring to you is, for you, in your experience, what kind of belief has been required to build your dreams? Because it's easy to, have a dream. I mean, a lot of people have dreams, hopes, aspirations that they never manifest. Maybe because they're not willing to put in the work, maybe because they don't have the confidence, host of reasons on why they're never, these dreams and these beliefs are not manifested, these dreams. However, there's a difference to me, at least, when it comes to me believing that I can do something and me believing that I will do something. So me believing that I can do something, I believe that I can be on the internet. I believe that I can have a podcast. I believe that I can run a show and ask questions. However, once I stop believing that I could do that, and I believe that I can and would do that, now all of a sudden I'm taking actions. All of a sudden I'm setting deadlines for myself. Hey, I'm going to be on the air this day at this time. Don't even know how to use YouTube. But I'm going to be on here and I'm going to do what's necessary to bring this content and bring this growth and bring this inspiration. And that's really, to me, the transition from moving from that belief of something to actually building that dream. So for you, what kind of belief is required in order to build your dream or dreams?
Well, you already said it. You already gave the answer in the question. And that is simply the word to focus on here is belief. Okay. And as people are listening to this Intersation, I really hope that you guys have a pen and paper next to you, taking down some notes. I know you can watch this. You can easily view this on the replay. But for what we're talking about right now, this is really critical stuff that is actually taken from the book Modern Day Mentor also. So the reason why people find in their lives that they are not manifesting their dreams, and this is something that I teach on an ongoing basis, you have to think outside the box. You know, when we grew up as kids, we were all taught pretty much the basics of how to think, how to behave, you know, our educational, you know, endeavors. It's like we're products of what was taught to us. And if all you live by is what was taught to you in this small little box, that becomes what you know. And what you know may not necessarily be enough information to propel you to where you wish to be. But that's only if you wish to be there. So wishing and desiring and praying and asking and seeking, all of these things are ingredients that ultimately take you to manifestation. It's like when you're making a cake, if the recipe says to use 3 eggs, you don't just use 1 egg and think you're about to have a bomb cake. Your cake is going to be a dud. If the recipe says use 3 eggs, then you need to have 3 eggs, or you need to not be trying to make a cake. It's going to come out horrible. And people live their life that way. They have great ideas, and the ideas make very good sense to them. But the reason why people spend year after year after year after year telling the same old people about the same old idea is because none of their ideas have a due date. And I'm glad you used yourself as an example when you said, you know, how you develop content. I have 4 more days to develop this content. I have 3 more days to do a live show. You know, I have 30 more days to get these other things done off my list. You're able to manifest your dreams. Like, you're walking in manifestation right now. You've been doing these segments for a long time, and you started doing them on Facebook, but your audience got so big that you had to transition to YouTube. Had you not been about the business of walking in the faith of your gifts and your talents, you would have never manifested a YouTube channel, because you would just be using that same time to just tell people what you're going to do, but then ultimately you would never do it. And that's what I teach people in this book. If you don't have a goal that has a due date attached to it, you don't have a goal. You have an idea. And that's why you're not manifesting anything that you dreamed about 25 years ago, because today in 2019, it's still an idea with no due date. And so I want you guys to start thinking outside the box. Everything that I say, every question that I answer tonight, I'm going to purposely look for a way, a crack, an avenue to be able to compel you to think outside the box. If there's more than one way to die, there's more than one way to think about how to get to the next goal. but you have to be about the business of doing the work. And that's another reason why people fail, is because everybody wants to win the lotto. And the reason why everybody wants to win the lotto is because they don't really want to work hard. I mean, if you think about it, if you win the lotto, if most people won the lotto today, they would quit their job. Why? Because now they don't have to work if they don't want to. Well, most people who work don't want to. They work because they need to.
Right.
And another reason why people are not manifesting their dreams is because they're so caught up in social media. They're so caught up in being a workaholic, building somebody else's empire, and they don't even make time to think about how to build their own empire when they're away from their job. So therefore, they don't have time to dream. That's why they're not manifesting anything, because dreaming is a thing of the past for them, because there's so many distractions that have come in between and interrupted their dream.
So then what kind of belief is required to interrupt those types of distractions that are keeping you from setting that due date, that are keeping you inside the constraints of this box of thought? What are some of the beliefs that will propel you outside of that box? What are some of the beliefs that'll say, hey, no, like one of my things, I like to play video games, still like to play video games. However, I don't get a lot of time to play video games. So what are some of the beliefs that will propel you out of the box and move you in the direction away from the distractions?
So here's something that somebody told me many years ago, and I never forgot it. And I'm probably not saying it right, but at the end of the day, you'll get the picture of what I'm trying to say. So the way it was taught to me was there was this old farmer who lived out in the country, and he had a hound dog that always, would lay out on the front porch. And every time he would go out to lay out on the front porch, he would just be howling from sun up to sundown. And so one day, a neighbor who heard this dog howling and screaming and moaning and crying, all the time, finally came over to the guy's house and knocked on the door and said, hey, do you know your dog is out here screaming and wailing and crying? And the farmer says, yeah, I know he's crying. He says, well, why is he doing that? And so the farmer says, well, he's laying on top of a rusty nail. And so the neighbor says, well, if he knows he's laying on top of a rusty nail, how come he doesn't just get up off of the nail and go lay somewhere else? And the farmer said, because it doesn't hurt enough yet. You see what I'm saying? Many of us don't do anything greater than what we're already striving to do, because where we're at doesn't hurt enough yet, which means we're comfortable. When people are comfortable, there's no reason for them to move. There's no reason for them to act. There's no reason for them to think outside the box, because they're already comfortable with where they want to be. So to answer your question, it's thinking outside of the box and putting yourself in a position to have your dreams manifested is you believing in you. That's really where it all starts. It starts with you believing in you. It starts with you saying to yourself, you know what? I can do this. And then when you get past the I can do this phase, the I can do this becomes I'm gonna do this. And then when you get past the I'm gonna do this phase, you're already about the business of doing it. So if somebody comes to me and complains to me about why they haven't achieved whatever level of success they're striving to achieve, the first thing I'm going to say is, how long have you had this problem? How long have you been trying to achieve or manifest this dream? And if it's years and years and years, I ask them a very hardcore question that I ask everybody. And that is, how do you expect me or anyone else out in the world to believe in you enough to invest in you when you don't even believe enough to invest in yourself?
True.
How can you tell me how good a restaurant is and how good their food is if you know good and well you've never eaten there?
Right.
So I'm not going to want your dreams to come true for you more than you want them to come true for yourself, because I'm about the business of chasing my own. And if you're coachable enough and I see that you want it, I'll help you. I'll give you some tools of the trade that'll propel you in that direction. But at the end of the day, if you're not about the business of being willing enough to do the work, your dreams are already dead.
Right. I'm not about to slap a backpack on, put you in it, and carry you to your dream. No, I
Yeah,
understand that.
that's what I'm not doing.
So last follow-up question on this question, and then we'll move forward. So if what you're saying is that belief, that actionable belief is what propels you to your dream, what impact does the failure along the way have on our ability to build our dreams? So I'll give you your own example that you used very early, being that you're fighting to trying to prove your innocence, where it can easily be like, okay, I'm going to prove my innocence and not have to go through this process. And then you get to the place where, no, I have to go through this process. And you're like, okay, give me 48 hours. And now you're to the place where, okay, this fight is going to continue, but that may have been a particular perceived failure in this plan of, I'm going to prove my innocence out here and about and not have to go through this particular part of the process. How does that failure set us back from building our dreams, if it does even set us back?
Well, because the people who fail believe the failure.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
The failure to them becomes real. So when the failure becomes real enough times, they start to look at their life as a failure. And some people believe it so wholeheartedly that they will verbally tell you they are a failure. And I'm pretty sure most of you guys, I know I've heard it. I've heard many people come to me about whatever we're talking about and say, I just feel like a failure. And there's times where I have felt like a failure as well. But when you start believing the unreal, to you, it becomes real. I always tell people when I talk about failure, I also talk about the word fear. As we know, fear is FEAR, which is an abbreviation really for false evidence appearing real. And I want you guys to write that down right now. I want you to write out the word fear, and then right under the F, I want you to write false all the way down. And then right under the E, I want you to write evidence all the way down. Right under the A, I want you to write appearing. And then right under the R, I want you to write real. So fear, now when you look at fear, you need to start training your mind. You need to start conditioning your brain to know that fear is false evidence appearing real. Well, why does it appear real? Because in your mind, you have failed at something before. So now it's like watching a repeat of your favorite TV show. When you look at that TV show, you start looking at it and going, wait a minute, I've seen this before. So when you fail again and again and again, what you're really doing is recognizing years of previous failure. So if that's how you condition your mind to see it, that becomes your reality, that you are a failure. But what I'm telling you is that it's false evidence. It's false evidence. Because if you don't believe that you're a failure, it makes the evidence even more false. So we reside in a place of failure because we fear coming out of our comfort zone that I talked to you guys about a few minutes ago. We fear coming out of our comfort zone because we are afraid to fail again. So when you're afraid to fail again, it's almost the same as being stuck in quicksand. You can't move. You can't move forward because you're afraid that failure is waiting around the corner for you. But you know what? What if it is? So what? Move forward anyway. You're never going to know if it's there until you move forward and look. And that's what I had to do what got me there was a bunch of false evidence, false statements, false witnesses who claimed they said they saw what happened when in fact they saw nothing. All of those lies put in the same pot caused me to be facing life for a situation that I was trained to walk away from. But if my fear overwhelmed me to the point where I refused to fight to get out, where do you think I'd be right now?
Right. And
I wouldn't be sitting here doing an Intersation.
Right.
This would not have become a manifestation if I would have gave up 15 years ago. So I had to get myself to a point of, you know what? I don't belong here. So now that I realize I don't belong here, I'm going to fight until I can't fight no more, until I get out of here and until I'm back among my family and my friends where I belong. This is not my home. This is a stepping stone that God is allowing me to be here so that when he delivers me from this place, I can go out and be a testimony to other people who are going through just as many dark storms in their life and show them how to overcome it.
I like that. Let's move forward into the next question, because I understand the fear aspect, I understand the belief aspect, but my next question for you is how, and I put how and or where, do we find the proper materials to build our dreams? It'd be like, you know, we want to build a house, we want to go somewhere, or we want to do something. We can't just go walk out and grab out of the air a house and all of a sudden walk into a home. We need materials, we need resources. And so how do we find those resources to build our dreams? Where do we find those resources to build our dreams, in your opinion?
So that's another very important thing that I talk about, excuse me, that I talk about in the book, Modern Day Mentor. In order to work toward a dream, you first have to understand what your gifts and your talents are. Because if you don't know how to identify your gifts and talents, what are you really striving for? So this book, Modern Day Mentor, is very interactive. Some of the things in the book, I will come straight out and tell you what it is. And in some chapters, I will give you just enough information and really tell you where to go look it up to prove or disprove what I already said in the book. And the reason why I'm doing that is because Modern Day Mentor is about mentoring, it's about personal growth, and it's about leadership, right? So speaking to those out there who are either already in leadership positions or strive to be in leadership positions, I know that when a certified bona fide leader gets this book in their hand and they start to read it, I'm not going to have to go into vivid detail about how to acquire something. They're just going to take the little bit of information I gave them and they're going to run with it, and they're going to research it for themselves, even if I don't tell them to do it, because that's what leaders do. But if you're striving to move into a position of leadership, oftentimes those are the people who are looking for you to tell them all the information up front, so that it's less work that they have to do. If you're walking into leadership looking to do less work, you're not ready for leadership. Because leadership is more work with less recognition, and sometimes no recognition and no gratitude and no thanks. But how it's going to be rewarding to you in your life is based on the value that you put on it. And only you know that answer. I don't know that answer. It's based on the value that you create for whatever you want your dream to be. So you have to identify your strengths and your weaknesses, your gifts and your talents. And once you identify your gifts and your talents and you know what those are, you will then discover what you're passionate about. You can't become passionate about something unless you realize you have a gift or a talent for it. And then once you discover what that passion is, it's like now you're more equipped to start moving forward towards manifesting that dream or that goal. And in this Intersation, I want you guys to see manifestation and goal as the same thing, because they work kind of like the same way. When you manifest something like this book, it was only manifested because I first had to dream about it. And the reason I was able to dream about it is because I realized long time ago that God had given me a gift and a talent to be able to write. And I also knew that because God gave me this gift and this talent to write, I knew that if I didn't continue to sharpen my sword, I knew that my gift and my talent would be taken away. And I didn't want to allow that to happen. So if you guys know what your gifts and your talents are, start using them before they get taken away.
Well, you know, it's funny because the gifts and the talents aspect, where, you know, they're things that people are not gifted in, but they will truly dedicate the energy, the time, the effort into becoming proficient in that particular gift or that talent. And maybe that's a harder road, maybe that's a longer road, but if that's where your passion and your heart's at, hey, I support that. But from the perspective of, I guess, having the going in the stages of where you've come from, the having the idea, having the gift and the talent, combining those two to say, okay, there's something that I want to do with them. And then moving into that doing period, there's almost like this seamless gap. But I wonder if you have the ability to identify it, where we move from, I'm gonna use these very close, like chicken and the egg. We move from manifestation into, or we move from building to manifestation. So we move from building the dream to the dream now is here. So for instance, with your book, you moved from, I have an idea, I have a passion for writing, I'm going to sharpen that sword of writing and that tool and make sure that that craft is legit. Now that I have this, I have another idea. I have an idea that I want to write a book, and this is what I want this book to be about. And so you move into that building process of, okay, I need to make chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, what the titles are going to be of the book. And then all of a sudden it feels like it's a seamless transition to where, boom, now we're to the place where the dream is here. How do we move from that dream building state into the actual manifestation state? And how can we be okay with it? Because, like, for instance, with your book, now that your book is written, you can't be like, oh, wait, I wanted to add this to the book. No, the book is manifested and it's here. And so right, you might be able to do a part 2 or a volume 3 or whatever, but the book in itself, Modern Day Mentor, how it is today is how it is right now. And if there's other things you want to add to it, that involves writing an addendum and another book.
Yeah, so that's a very tricky question. And the only reason I say that it's a tricky question is because everybody's journey, everybody's circumstance, and everybody's starting line for this race, right? This is a race. This is a race to get from nowhere to somewhere, to get from beginning to end. This is a race. And because of everybody's circumstances in life being so different, everybody, I can't really give you a general answer that, you know, like a one size fits all. It doesn't. Everybody is at different stages. And that's why I'm just really using this platform to encourage people to think outside of the box. Because if where you are in life right at this moment is truly not where you want to be, and where you are in life right now is based on everything that you have done from way back then to now, then the fact that you can say that right now I'm at a place in life where I really don't want to be, that means everything that you've been doing all these years is still not working. So once you realize that it's still not working, you now have to sit down and come up with a game plan to position yourself to do something different. Well, why would you want to do something different? So that you can see a different result. If what you've been doing for all these years is still not working, why would you continue to go forward 5 more years from now doing what never brought you results in the first place? That is insanity, right? So that's really a tricky question, Billy, because everybody's circumstances and everybody's why is different. And if your why doesn't move you to tears, that ain't the reason you're doing it. That ain't the reason you have that dream. That ain't the reason you set that goal. If your why doesn't make you bawl out of control like a baby and cry and lose yourself, that's probably not the vision that you really see, or that's not what you really are passionate about. When I was writing this book, let me tell you, it was, I mean, I brought new meaning to the word emotional roller coaster. There's some parts of this book that when I was sitting up, when most people were sleeping at night at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was up on my computer chasing my dream. And I knew that if I kept on doing that consistently, keyword, consistently, that at some point in time, my dream was going to manifest into this. So now that I'm holding this in my hand and I'm showing it to you and it's tangible, it's proof that my dreams have been manifested. But imagine if I would have spent from November of last year till February of 2019 saying, man, I'm tired, I'm gonna go to bed, I need to get some sleep. I would have never finished my book. And for the next 29 years, you guys would have been hearing modern day mentors coming, get your order form in. At some point in time, you would have got tired of hearing that. And even when the book came out, you wouldn't have wanted to read it because it was 29 years old already.
29 years in the making.
In the making. Come on now. I mean, so you really have to commit. You have to commit to being about doing what you say you're going to do for the reason that you say you're going to do it. And one of the reasons why I wanted to write this book is because most people who know me know that one of my favorite shows is a reality show, The First 48. Mm-hmm. And for those of you guys who watch that show, it really breaks my heart because I love children so much and I love working with youth a lot. It really breaks my heart that many of the people in the First 48 series that you guys watch, these are kids that are like 15, 16, 17, 19, all the way up to like 25, the average 25 years old. These are kids that are going to prison for the rest of their natural life. And many of them didn't even pull the trigger. And as they were caught up in the rapture, so to speak, they felt very confident that they weren't going to get in as much trouble because they didn't pull the trigger. But because they had knowledge that a felony was going to be committed, and in fact, they offered to drive the killer to the place to set the person up and rob them and kill them, little do they know, they're getting charged with capital murder. Mm. And so that's why Modern Day Mentor was so important for me, no matter how tired I was, no matter how emotional I was in the process. I had to get this book completed and get it into the hands of young people because I wanted to play a role in taking away the circumstance that a lot of these young kids on this show found themselves in because they didn't have a mentor, because they didn't have anybody who cared enough about them to say, you know what, that's not the way you go about doing things. That's not the way you go about settling arguments. That's not how you handle disagreements. They didn't have a mentor. And many of us in society are so quick to judge these kids. Oh, they're just ghetto. And oh, they're just killers. And they're just drug addicts and drug babies and blah, blah, blah. Well, you know what? Some of them are, because maybe their mother was a drug baby. So maybe they're a product of what their mom put them through during a pregnancy. But who are we to judge their circumstance when we have our own dirty laundry that we need to be trying to wash?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's why Modern Day Mentor was so important for me to finish it, because I want this book to go viral so that these kids that are walking into state prison for the rest of their life at 16, 17, 18 years old because they didn't have a mentor, that excuse has now been taken away from the next generation. You can't, you no longer have an excuse that somebody didn't show you the ropes. Buy the book, and then here's your mentor. And I speak about that very vividly in this book. And that's why I'm so proud and I'm so filled that it's now here for me to put it in people's hands.
One of the things, let me bring something in from the chat. The network, I like how you changed that name, Mark Anthony, says very true about leadership, about what you said earlier about leadership. He says, if you're really passionate about something, putting in more work and not getting recognition won't be a problem for you. You'll embrace it. And when I read that, what it got me to thinking about was that what you're saying is, I mean, moment of transparency. I've never like cried tears over First Row, but I understand what you mean when you say if what you're passionate about isn't moving you to emotion, isn't moving you outside of just doing the things that are easy and comfortable, then you're probably not as passionate about it as you say you are. And
Right.
so for me, I wrote down here, if I'm saying I'm really big on growth, I'm big on legacy, I'm big on leadership, I'm big on self-development. If I'm saying I'm big on these things and I have this network up and running, but let's say it's not getting the attention that I want it to get. And I'm like, man, I'm not going to do this. Nobody's listening. Now I have to question my motive. Am I seriously looking to impart change and to impart and inspire growth? Or am I looking for the limelight? Because if I'm saying I want one thing and I'm seriously seeking another thing, eventually the absence of the thing that I'm seeking, even if I'm achieving the goal that I say I want to achieve, is going to cause that dream to fizzle out and not build. And it's sad because I feel like in a lot of areas in life today that a lot of people try to say the right thing, try to say, oh, well, this is going to make me sound smarter, or this is going to make me sound more humble, or this is going to make me sound like whatever it may be. We say these things, but then in the reality, when it comes back to the back end driver, there's something, I don't want to say malicious, but I want to say there's an ulterior motive in the background that's playing. And it's almost like a computer that has a processor. Your processor can do so many things at one time. And you'll find, if you've ever opened your task manager, you might find something is pulling and draining your processor, causing something that you're trying to do to like lag or move slower. And so if you have this background process that you're not being upfront about, driving your computer or driving your dream or driving your build, then what happens is as your dream begins to manifest, that background bandwidth that's being sucked up, I feel like you end up falling short of what you really truly wanted to manifest. And if that's fame and stardom, then great, man. Work to manifest fame and stardom. I don't think there's any problem with manifesting that. There's not something that I particularly want. I don't want people in my business, and I don't like flashing lights as it is, so I don't want any extra pictures. However, if that's something that you're into and you want that, then knock yourself out. However, I will say this, that background bandwidth that's being sucked up, we see that a lot. I think, and maybe you would probably agree with me with this, brother, is we see that a lot in the things that go on social media. People are so busy doing social media things, and I'm not knocking the marketing, the advertising, I'm not knocking any of that, but we get so busy doing the social media song and dance and trying to present something so that people can believe us. But I think it comes all the way back down to we're not investing that energy in where you said, brother, in our own actual belief in what we are trying to present. And so I was just gonna say, so that's my thoughts on what Mark Anthony was saying, or the network was saying. You want to add something?
I do. And thank you for your input, Mark Anthony, and the network. Billy, everything that you said was spot on. I mean, since I started writing this book, I've learned a lot about my own limitations. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about my own sense of mentorship and leadership and direction. And I've learned a lot about how to be more accountable. And one thing that you said that I speak so boldly about in the book is that, we all have our freedom of speech moments where we feel like we can say what we want to say, do what we want to do because we have freedom of speech. I get that. But I really want to caution people who get on social media on a regular basis and put out there that they are living their best life. I submit, no, you're not. And the reason I can boldly say, no, you're not, is because, using myself as an example, if I was living my best life, I wouldn't be on social. I wouldn't even have time to be on social media to tell you what I'm doing. because I'm too busy living my best life. And if you're not a part of my best life, you won't be hearing from me every day telling you that I'm living my best life, because I'm going to be living it. And another thing I want to caution people about is being a writer. Every word, every individual word has its own powerful meaning to me. So when you say things like I'm living my best life, the focal word in that statement is best. So you go from good, great, better, best. What comes after best? Nothing. So when you constantly tell people you're living your best life, watch this. What you are subconsciously saying is, I'm living my best life right now because I don't feel like I'm ever going to acquire anything greater. So this has to be the end of the road for me. This has to be it. And this has to be it because this is the greatest feeling about my life that I've ever had. So this must be my best life. And that's not true. And if you live in a place where you believe that to be true, you're really second guessing what God has next for you. And who are any of us to second guess what God has in store for our life? If we knew it all, we wouldn't even need God, because we would already know the next phase, where we're going to be and when we're going to transition into that next phase, but we don't. So stop saying that you're living your best life, because when you say I'm living my best life, you're saying there's nothing greater beyond where I'm at right now. And you're cutting off your blessing before God even has an opportunity to allow it to manifest in your life. You're not living your best life. You're living a good life. You're living a great life. You're living an amazing life. And for those of you out there who understand how the laws of attraction work, I hope some of you guys are not being the ones out there saying you're living your best life. Because if you know how the law of attraction works, you know that you're speaking death upon your life when you say, I'm living my best life. Because that's where the road is going to end for you. I'm just living an amazing life. I'm so thankful that God saw fit to woke me up and see an amazing day that I can enjoy. And when you start training yourself to think outside the box and look at it that way, the law of attraction recognizes that you are appreciative of the day that you have right now, right? And therefore, the universe will give you another opportunity to emit that same gratitude. But when you say I'm living my best life, it's over as soon as you say it.
Yeah, I just wrote down here, I'm gonna start putting out, well, I don't ever say I'm living my best life, but I'm gonna start saying living my greatest life thus far.
Thus far, there you go. There you go.
I got more greater things to come, but thus far, this is a great experience. Thus far.
And let me just tie this in real quick, and we can move on. When I pray, and I'm praying from a position of faith, and I'm praying knowing that in His time, God is going to manifest what I'm praying for. Here's my prayer. Lord, I thank you for what you've done. I thank you for what you're doing. And I thank you for what you're getting ready to do. You see the mindset?
Mm-hmm.
I thank you for what you've done in my life when you delivered me from that dark, awful place 15 years ago and allowed me to walk out a free man. I thank you that you delivered me from that. I thank you for what you're doing in my life right now as I'm promoting this book. But even more so, I thank you for what you're about to do. When you pray like that, it's like it's like the universe leaves itself open to your beck and call. But when you say, I'm living my best life, you've slammed the door shut on your own blessing that you've never even had an opportunity to see yet. So y'all stop living your best life and just live your life. Please.
Just live your life. So we're actually coming to the end. I got a couple more questions for you tonight, brother, but I want to give those who are watching live in the chat an opportunity to start writing down some of the things they've taken away from tonight's Intersation. What's the number one thing that you're taking from the conversation tonight? What's the number one tool that you feel like you can apply? Whatever it may be, what you're just really vibing with. I really want you guys to be able to interact and share that. Excuse me. So if you could start taking the time to do that, I'd appreciate it. But I do have a couple more questions for you, brother, that I want to run by you and get your insight on. So the next question that I want to ask you is, how do you identify, because you've talked about times of sacrifice and times of, like, wanting to go to sleep, but staying up 3 additional hours to work on Modern Day Mentor. And I'm sure there's that Modern Day Mentor is not the only dream that you have and have manifested. But it's the most recent one. So how do you identify the time when it is time to sacrifice to obtain or build your dream versus when it's time to succumb to the demands of your dream, meaning not execute for the day or not execute for the moment, and maybe in a space of giving yourself a space of rest or giving yourself a space of reflection to be able to maybe reflect on a recent failure towards building your dream?
So that's a really good question. And that question you just asked me reminded me of my first promotional interview that I did with a very, very dear friend of mine a few weeks ago named Mara Gale. Hi, Mara, on Up to Me Radio. And we talked a little bit about sacrifice in that segment, not much. So I'm glad you asked that question. So keep in mind that I'm a single parent. I'm a single father of 2 amazing sons. And when I set out on this journey to write this book, I actually started putting this book together a little over 7 years ago. And from then to now, in between, I did go through a divorce. I did go through a horrific custody battle. And so at some point in time, I literally had to sacrifice my dream of making this book manifest, right? Because at that time that I was going through those custody issues and those legal battles, I felt like my kids needed me far more than the world needed a new book to read. And so, as passionate as I was about writing and wanting to get my vision out so that it was now a tangible book, I had to reprioritize. And when my kids were sick, I didn't have time to be tired. I didn't have time to be sleepy. It was like, if my kid got sick at midnight, I was in urgent care or emergency by 1 o'clock in the morning. When my other child, was having, problems with his breathing and stuff like that, I wasn't in my room sleep through the night. I was in his room sleeping on the floor on some blankets or a sleeping bag, because I didn't want to be in the next room sleeping comfortably, knowing that my child was in the next room having breathing problems, and then not be able to hear him if he needed me. So that was a sacrifice. Financial sacrifices. Everything that I had help with doing once upon a time was now all on me. And that's really important, because chasing your dreams requires financial sacrifice. And what a lot of people fail to realize about the financial sacrifice of it all is that you can't make payments on success. You can't put success on layaway and just pay it off eventually. The price for success, and I hope you guys are writing this down, the price for success is paid upfront in full. So when I saw a need that needed to be addressed, whether it was with my children, with my living situation, with my career, with Modern Day Mentor, I had to prioritize whatever was the priority for that moment. And my kids are always my priority. But thankfully, because I have 2, they're able to entertain each other, which gives me time to dedicate toward chasing my dream. And there's times where I had to sacrifice not being present to play with my children when I know they wanted my attention, so that I could explain to them, if you guys just give daddy just one night to finish this, when I'm done, what I'm working on is going to put us in a very good position when I'm finished to be able to do some big things. And when that happens, I'm going to be able to do more and more and more things for you. So when I created that vision for them, it was like, oh, okay, I get it. But I didn't just kick them to the curb and make them wait. I explained to them why it was important that they give me this time and this space to do this. And really it was because I was doing it for their benefit as well. So then they understood it. So there's so many sacrifices that come with being a single parent. And at the end of the day, Billy, I remember one time where I just didn't swallow my pride. I kind of let my pride get in the way of taking care of a need that one of my children had. And there was times where my finances had got so tight. My son had a really bad cough one time, and I could not get him to stop coughing for nothing. And when he ran out of medicine, I didn't even have the extra money to go to the store and get him a new bottle of medicine. Like, you want to talk about sacrifice. That right there, I mean, it probably wasn't the smartest thing for me to do, but within a day or two, I mean, it just worked itself out. He got better. I did kind of take a risk not doing that, but you know what? From that moment on, I used that as a learning experience to say, you know what? I'll never do that again. I'll gladly make the sacrifice however I need to if I'm ever confronted with that situation again. So sacrifices are ongoing. And if you're not willing to pay the price of the sacrifice, it could be a sign that you're not ready to step into leadership, or you're not ready for success the way you may think you are.
You know, it's funny because a follow-up question I want to ask to that is, you'll see on a lot of inspirational videos, whether it's Goalcast or, you know, ET, Eric Thomas, what you'll see a lot where it's you're asked the question of, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want your dream? How bad do you want success? For you, in the sacrifice, so you said it took 7 years to write, to get to the place to write Modern Day Mentor. In that sacrifice of not writing Modern Day Mentor, do you feel like that speaks to your lack of desire to see that manifest? No.
And actually, as you were formulating your question, it reminded me of a conversation that I had with an acquaintance of mine that I was really good friends with when I was signed to Capitol Records back in the early 90s. So approximately I'd say about 8 or 9 years ago, it was around the holiday time. I had a phone conversation with a friend of mine who was a Motown recording artist. And at the time I was working on an album myself. I was writing an album myself. And I got to a place where I just couldn't write. I felt like my creativity wasn't flowing. I was in the studio not really knowing what to write, what to say, what to do, how to make it come out. And I was just frustrated. So I reached out to him and shared with him my lack of desire for that moment. And one thing he said to me almost 9 years ago, he said to me that he had just recently, I think the year prior, he had just recently landed a title song on Justin Bieber's Christmas album.
Mm-hmm.
And he referred to me as little brother. He's older than me, so he refers to me as little brother. And he would say to me, little brother, when I got that song on Justin Bieber's Christmas album, most people don't even know. Before it landed on Justin Bieber's Christmas album, he wrote that song 14 years prior. So what he was telling me in that conversation was never give up. He said, I've seen your gift. I've seen your talents. I've worked with you in the studio with Brian McKnight. and people like Portrait and other celebrities that I've worked with at a very young age. He said, I know what you can do. He said, don't quit. He said, it took me 14 years to get that song placed on somebody's album. And look who God chose for me to have that album on, that song on their album, Justin Bieber. It went platinum just because. So what he was trying to get across to me was just never quit. Once you recognize your gifts and your talents and your passions and your motivations for why you continue to dream what you dream, don't give up. Because if your breakthrough, if God is going to allow your breakthrough to come through on Saturday morning, but you give up on Wednesday morning, how will you ever know what could have been?
Right.
So the answer to that question is no. I just saw it as an opportunity for me to hurry up and take care of this legal business I got to do so that I can get back on my computer and finish chasing my dream, because I don't like starting things and not finishing them. I'm really a stickler about that. So because I knew it was unfinished, I had to tie these loose ends up so I could be about the business of finishing this book so that I could get it into people's hands and start empowering people and enriching people's life. Because as you know, we need better leaders in this world today. This world is tore up from the floor up with the leadership that is over our administration right now. And it's depressing. It's sad. It's really sad. So I talk about it a little bit in the book, but just enough to draw people's attention to it and then create solutions to how we can make it better.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So I got one more question for you before we close out. And really, it's about the manifestation, modern day mentor being the manifestation, the most recent manifestation of your dreams. How do people find that book if they want to, if they're watching live or via the replay? How do they find that book? How do they acquire it? How do they come by purchasing it?
Okay, so I'm going to give you I gave you the link. I hope you put it up by now, where people can click on that PayPal link and it'll take them directly to the page to order the book. The book is $12.99 plus tax, so it's $13.93. And let me tell you guys something. For the knowledge and the wisdom and the information that's in this book, $13.93 is a complete joke for what it's going to do for you in your life. When I had my launch party for this book on Saturday, June 1st of this year, one thing I said to my guests at this party was that I didn't know a lot about Nipsey Hussle before he was murdered, unfortunately. I didn't know a lot about his music before he passed away. But the more I started listening to interviews in the aftermath or in the wake of his death, I learned that he sold copies of a CD that he had. I think the name of it was Crenshaw, for $100 per CD. Never in my lifetime, even when I was in the music business, signed to Capitol Records, I had never heard of any artist selling their CD for $100 and then selling out in the same day. But you know what? I like, from a business perspective, I like the concept, because what it said to me was he saw the value of his work so vividly that if nobody else believed he could do it, he believed in his work enough that he could sell CDs for $100 a copy. So when I had my launch party on June 1st, I adapted that same methodology, and I announced to my guests that for anyone who wanted to purchase Modern Day Mentor at my party, the book was selling for $100 per copy. And I sold only 3 books, but watch this. I sold 3 books at $100 per copy. How many people watching this live, or even if you're going to watch this on the replay, how many of you have purchased a book for $100? Not many of you.
I was gonna say that's not a college book, because them books be outrageous.
No, and this is not a college book. But funny you should say that, because my next goal is to make this book a part of college and high school curriculum. Because the lessons in the book are so powerful. It's based on information that was never taught to people like you and I by our parents or our elders. And it's not because they didn't love us enough. They didn't know. They didn't know. So now that I know, I'm using this book as a platform to teach other youth and young people what I know already, that their parents are not teaching them about how to get ahead in life the fastest way possible. So click on the PayPal link. Another thing you guys can do to keep up with speaking engagements that I'm doing, appearances, book signings, and things of that nature, you can visit us on Facebook by looking us up under our Facebook page at Another EP Publishing Company. Like our page, and the minute we post something, you'll get an immediate notification, just like those of you who are subscribed to First Row. So the book is currently in review by Barnes & Noble. I'm hoping that within the week we can be live on Barnes & Noble, but just keep checking back. I promise you guys it'll be there. I promise you guys it'll be on Amazon.com shortly. Yeah, so just keep checking back and make that link available for anyone who wants to purchase. When you purchase the book is shipped out to you for free the next business day, up to 3 books. So if you order 4 books or more, you have to pay $1 per book for shipping and handling. But if you're just going to order 1 book up to 3 books, then shipping is absolutely free.
Okay. No, I like that. And I put that link in the chat as far as for the PayPal link. And I'm actually pulling the link right now from Facebook for Another EP, the Facebook page. And I just put that in the chat as well. So that's
okay. Before you do that, I was just speaking about my book launch party a few minutes ago. So I just told you guys I sold 3 books at my launch party for $100 per copy. So I promised those people who purchased those books that I would shout them out on this Intersation. And these people are people who did attend my book launch party, and they did purchase copies of Modern Day Mentor for $100 a copy. So that is Marcy Hale of Riverside, California. That is Robert C. Picard of Moreno Valley, California. And that is business owner Champions Barbershop in the city of West Covina, located in the West Covina Mall, to be exact. Champions Barbershop came through and represented and also purchased the first copy, actually, at $100 a copy. So I thank you for doing that. That purchase that you made on Saturday night at my launch party definitely validated the value that Modern Day Mentor brings to the table. I appreciate you for sacrificing to do that. And I'm looking forward to bigger and greater things as a result of this book. We're just taking off. We're just taking off with this book, and the book is selling like crazy. So I appreciate you, Billy, for writing an amazing foreword. You guys probably didn't even know, because he's being bashful and quiet on the other end of this camera. My brother wrote the most amazing foreword to this book. And the reason I say it was amazing, Billy, is because when I read that, what you wrote, it brought tears to my eyes, because I never knew you felt that deeply about your big brother. And it really moved me nearly to tears. And I thank you for doing an amazing job. And anything that you touch with First Row, Intersations, or anything as far as chasing your dream and building your brand, you already know you have my unwavering support, no questions asked.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's not about me. It's about you, brother. So I'm not trying to take any lime or any limelight from the process. It's simply something that, like I said, I wouldn't have, as we've talked personally, I would never have written anything that I didn't believe myself wholeheartedly about you. I'd have been like, maybe I'm not the person you want, right? Right in this. That would have been what I would have wrote. So no, definitely it speaks to my insight, my intimate insight into your life, into your journey for the stint that I've been here for. So I'm definitely would write the same thing exactly the same way over again. So With that, we are at the end of the Intersation, brother. There's a lot of information there that you've given, but I always got to end with the same question that I ask at the end of every single Intersation. For those who are watching live or those who are watching via the replay, if there were 2 or 3 takeaways that you would want them to take away from tonight's conversation, Intersation, what would you want those takeaways to be?
From a mentoring standpoint, I would say, think before you act. And I'm really trying to reach the hearts of young people right now. Think before you act. So many people want to be accepted today for the most ridiculous reasons. So many people want to fit in. So many people want to belong to some group that they really have no business belonging to. And I want you guys to realize that even if you've never been in trouble with the law, you've never had a ticket, you've never been to juvie or anything like that, one ignorant, stupid decision could change the entire outcome of your natural life. So think before you act, because if you don't think before you act, it may be the last thing you'll ever do as a free person, because you will be held accountable for your actions, and you should be. The next thing I would say from a leadership perspective, and I'm saying this to leaders in corporate America all over this nation, stop expecting your staff to do what they don't see you doing. That's not leadership. That's a sinking ship. If you take care of your people will take care of you. You're not going to have to beg them to do their job. If you take care of your people and lead by example, your people will then take care of you. If there's something that continues to remain broken at the bottom, it's because something is broken at the top. And the last thing I would just end with is just never give up. We live in such a busy society, and people are just so busy doing nothing. I can't tell you how many people have looked me dead in my face to tell me, you know, they can't be a part of something, or they can't reach out to me at a given time because they're busy. But I think a lot of them forget that I'm on social media with them. So I see clearly that you're not busy, because the stuff that you make yourself busy doing is not anything that's adding value to your life right now. So you need to rethink what you're busy at doing, because most of what you're doing or being busy at is not giving you the quality of life that you desire. So if you want a better quality of life, be about the business of becoming busy doing what's going to propel you toward a better quality of life. Social media ain't it unless you're making money on social media. If you're not making money for everything you post, I'm gonna need you to rethink your priorities.
True that.
Pretty much that's it. And never give up. So many people are not where they are in life because they stopped dreaming a long time ago. They stopped dreaming a long time ago. And then came Facebook, and then came MySpace, and then came Twitter, and then came Snapchat, and then came Instagram. So people don't have time to dream no more, because they're always posting that they're living their best life. Stop it. You're not living your best life until God reveals to you that you're living your best life.
All right. Well, I'll take those. I got about 4, actually about 5, because you said some, but you didn't give me the leeway that they was going to be one, but I got about 5. But as far as the Intersation, brother, as always, I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your support. Thank you again for coming in and talking about this topic, manifesting dreams. And it's one of my goals with all Intersations is to have people who are in that doing process, not, oh, well, you know, I want to be, or eventually I will be, or I have the idea that I will be. It's the, what are you doing to be? And so the last thing that you said, as far as about so many people are busy being busy, they're not busy being productive. They're not busy adding value. And so I really take it to heart that you're willing to come on, even after knowing all this time that you spent with getting Modern Day Mentor to where it is today, and the work that still has to come after today. Right. I really appreciate the value of and the time that you spent on the first row, sharing that and really hoping to inspire some people to manifest their dreams. You got
So last thing before I get out of here, I owe a major shout out to California DJs for coming to my launch party and setting the room on fire. I appreciate you. I look forward to doing more events with you guys. You guys killed it, and we definitely will be working together again. Bruh, I'm out. It's Modern Day Mentor all day, every day, bro. I ain't got nothing else to talk about.
All right. Well, with that, as all of you may know, or you should know by now, with the first row, how this name came about is I was taught at a very young age. Number one, it's a play on my last name, our last name, W-R-O-E, Rowe. So first row. But what I was taught a very long time ago by a business mentor was, and going right back into mentorship, was that the people who sit on the first row, they get two benefits for sitting on the first row. Number one, they make the most money. And when you're young and you're entrepreneurial, as I am, making more money and making the most money is something you want to be. So you work to sit on the first row. Number two is that they get the most information. And that is why they make the most money, because they get the most information, because there's no distraction between them and the person providing that information. So first row was born from that concept. And as a result, the reason why I call it the first row here is because I feel like the viewers, whether you're watching live or via the replay, you are sitting on the first row. There is no distraction. Even if there is a distraction, you might have a kid who needs to eat or, bump their knee or whatever it may be. There might be a distraction, but there's a pause button. So you can pause the actual talk, come back to the first row, and still have that no distraction as you continue in the content. So what I like to do at the end of every Intersation is what I call tools for the first row. You're sitting on the first row. There's tools. These tools are tools that I kind of came up with while I was developing the content, developing the questions for tonight's Intersation about manifesting dreams. And so one of the things that I'm starting to do with these tools is really trying to figure out how to hone in on the key tools to provide to you on the first row. Trust me, I come up with a ton of tools, come up anywhere between 12 to 20 different tools, but I really try to hone it down to the tools that I feel are going to make the most significant headway in the development and the growth of myself and in the development and the growth of you as viewers. So there's 3 tools that I have tonight that I want to share with you in regards to manifesting your dreams. And these are the tools that really jumped out in the group of tools that I came up with, that jumped out to me and spoke to me the loudest. So the very first tool when it comes to manifesting your dream is you need the right tools and the right materials. And we learned this at a very early age with the story of the 3 little pigs, having the right tools and the right materials. You can have the right tools and not have the right materials and not end up with the dream that you're really attempting to build. Part of that may be is if your dream requires additional education, then you need to make sure that you're doing what my brother Dameon said, the research on what that material may look like or what that information may look like, so that you can go out and get that, so you have it ready when it comes time to manifest your dream. It's nothing like having a backdrop for a major Broadway production. You got the curtains down, and all of a sudden when you pull the curtain up to start the show, the backdrop falls because there was 5 nails missing out of the foundation of that backdrop. So it's really important to make sure that you have the right tools. If that tool is a hammer, if that tool is education, if that tool is drive, ambition, salesmanship, personality, network ability, whatever that tool is, having that right tool and then having the right materials to be able to manifest that dream. So that was the very first tool. Whether you have them or not, that's up to you to figure out, because if you don't have them, then it now becomes your responsibility to acquire them. And then again, going back to that 3 little pigs mentality. When you rush and you use the wrong tools, what you end up with is that house of straw or that house of sticks. And when the big bad wolf of life comes around and starts blowing and starts creating some waves and a little bit of havoc or chaos, all of a sudden you find out that dream that you've spent time allegedly investing in, but you didn't make the right investments, or you didn't invest the time that you were supposed to invest in, comes crumbling down. Take time to grab those materials that are bricks that are going to be a foundation that you can build on. And that way, when the life situations come up, you don't find your dream fall into the ground. So that's tool number 1. The second tool is failure is a lesson. And I really, when it came to manifesting dreams, I started thinking about a host of dreams that I've had in my lifetime. And some of the dreams that came to fruition and some of the dreams that didn't come to fruition. And a lot of the times when I look at and reflect upon the dreams that have not come into fruition, and I'm going to add yet to that, a lot of the times it's because of that false evidence appearing real, that failure that has taken place, to where I looked at it and said, oh man, that's not going to happen. And immediately I stopped doing the work in order to manifest the dream. So I've self-fulfilled that prophecy of that dream not coming and being manifested, because I stopped doing the work that it takes to manifest that dream. And I've actually had that experience in times of working on First Row content when I was on Facebook. And I mean, I got to the point on Facebook where I felt like at one point, man, ain't nobody listening to this. And I had to really ask myself, well, what is your goal? Is your goal for people to listen to what you're saying? Or is your goal really that goal of growth, development, and legacy? Because if it's growth, development, and legacy, the information is there. And as they say, the class will appear, or what they say, the teacher will appear when the class is ready, or something like that. Having that content up and ready to go. Now, when people want to go back and look at something, I actually had somebody reach out to me last week, and they were like, there's somebody I'm talking to about doing a Wednesday Word. They were looking at old Wednesday Word content. They're like, wow, I'm really seeing the progression of the Wednesday Word from back when you're on Facebook to where you're at now on YouTube. And so that is the second thing, is that failure is a lesson. Take the opportunity, instead of taking that opportunity to take the failure as an opportunity to be discouraged and an opportunity to quit, an opportunity to give up and not work on manifesting your dreams. Take that opportunity to say, you know what? This is what I've learned from this experience. And now I know what not to do. Actually, Brother Dameon, you said, there was something you said earlier. Oh, about if you're at in life today, based on what you've been doing up until this point, and you really don't want to be there, then instead of just simply looking at that as a failure, look at that as a list of the things that you really need to not do over the next 5 years in order to not still be at where you're at today. So if you're in a place where you have bad credit, and you look at your credit score and you're like, okay, this is where my credit score is at, and these are the decisions that I made to get there. Obviously, you know what you don't need to do because you've done that. Here's what you now need to start looking to do. What are the things that I haven't done? Well, I haven't paid for pay my bills on time. I haven't done this. I haven't done that. And start doing the things that will help to establish your credit. Start doing the things that will help move you towards the place that you truly want to be. If you're not where you want to be, if you're living your alleged best life and that's where you want to be, then stay there. But you don't get to complain in your best life. You get to rock that one, because that's a choice that you made to be there.
Yes, sir.
So, and then the third and the final tool is belief provokes action. And what I mean by this tool is that when you truly believe something, you take action. And what I liken this to is the first time I went skydiving. When I went skydiving, note, I have a discomfort with heights. So it's not that I was like, oh, I want to be super high in the air, but it was like, I want to experience something that is exhilarating. I want to see the world from a different perspective. And skydiving was the path that I chose to do that on. If I didn't have a belief in the parachute that was attached to the back of the person who was attached to the back of my back, I never jump out of the plane. I don't even care if he pushes me out. We're holding on for dear life. You're going to have to fight me out of the plane. And those are the actions I would take if I didn't have the belief. So the reason I say belief provokes action is because the belief in the functionality of the parachute enables me to take the action to get suited up, get in a plane, go up about 10,000 feet, them to open the door, me not to freak out, and then get to the place where I'm able to get out of the plane and I'm experiencing skydiving for the first time. And that is what, when it comes to manifesting dreams, I think that was the most powerful tool that resonated with me, was that everything that I have done in my life, every dream, every experience, good or bad, has manifested because of my belief in it. And so if there's one thing that I want everybody to take with them tonight, and I normally don't tell people what to take with them for the evening, but if there's one thing that I want you to take with you, is to realize that your belief will provoke your actions. It will agitate, it will inspire, it will make you take that action. You'll feel uncomfortable not taking the action. It's almost like I one day I was on a cruise, and I was walking past a roulette table. Now we all know roulette is a gamble. It's not an exact science. It's a gamble. You can put some numbers down and you can lose everything. But I walked past this table and I said, you know what? I think the next number is red 14. I hadn't been watching the roulette. I wasn't doing any type of analysis on the roulette. I don't know what the numbers were before. I don't know anything about that, but there was something in my gut that said red 14 is next. And I just went and I put $5 down on red 14. And bam, red 14 hit. It wasn't that it wasn't gambling. It's still gambling. However, my belief, my conviction in what the next number was going to be was significant enough for me to put $5 down. Now, what I wish I would have did was had a conviction significant enough to put every bit of cash that I had on red 14. But the conviction was big enough for me to take action and say, here's $5 for red 14. And as soon as that number hit, it was like, wow, how did I know that that was going to happen? But the action took place because of the belief. And so that is the most powerful tool that I can recommend that you take with you tonight. From my perspective on the first row, tools for the first row is belief provokes action. If you find yourself complacent, not taking action, it's really not that those actions don't exist. It's that there is a disconnect or there is not a great enough belief. Some people say I call it the why, but really I believe it's the belief. You don't believe that your success is possible. You don't believe that your dream will actually manifest. So you don't even waste time taking the actions. You quote unquote procrastinate. However, there's no intentionality behind your procrastination. It's just like, it's never going to happen anyway. So those are the tools that I have for you guys tonight for the first row. Number one, again, really quick, is you need the right tools and the materials. Without the right, you can have all the hammers in the world that you want, but without a nail to drive into some wood, you just got a hammer. Number two is failure is a lesson. Take the opportunity to remove yourself from the stress and the disappointment that may come with failure, and really look at the lessons on what not to do, or identify the areas where you can make tweaks and turn a failure into a success. And then number three, and again, the most powerful one for me, is belief provokes action. When you believe that your manifestation of your dream is 100% a possibility, you'll actually start taking the actions to bring it to the light. So that's all I got for you guys tonight. I really thank you guys for tuning in live, rocking with us. We're at about an hour and 37 minutes. So I appreciate you guys rocking with us through the entirety of the show. Hey, T-Rooks, I see you there. Welcome. Little late, but you catch the replay when you get a chance.
Yes, sir. T-Rooks in the house.
But I really appreciate you guys rocking with us tonight. For as far as if you're watching via live or if you're watching via the replay, realize that we do have some more live content coming this week. So if you missed this one, watch the replay, but you can definitely catch some more live content later this week. Tomorrow, we will actually have the Wednesday Word. That is June 12th, 2019, and that will be at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That topic will be on focus. If you want to know what that's about, you're going to have to tune in live or catch a replay. Other than that, I want to thank you guys for coming on to the first row. Again, Brother Dameon, I appreciate you and your support of the first row, bringing Modern Day Mentor for us to read, as I'm in the midst of reading it right now. Cousin Brian, I see that we're going to connect and do some note comparisons. So let's make that happen. I'll text you and we'll figure out a time. But for those who are watching live, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, with every Intersation Wednesday Word or anything that I'm doing live on the first row, I always say, if you like this video, please share it. If you share this video, please like it. I'm happy to engage with you, obviously, in the live chat, but we're also happy to engage with you in the comments up to the first 7 days that the equipment. I just went back to work. The first 7 days that the video has been posted. So if you missed it and you're watching the replay, feel free to shout out something in the comments and we'll touch base with you there. Also, one more reminder for the links for Modern Day Mentor. You can find that in the chat. However, I have also placed that into the description. So that way, if you can't see it in the chat, you're welcome to go to the description of this particular video and you can find that link there. Other than that, thank you guys for tuning in. If there's anything that you want to see on the first row, do not hesitate to email us at topics@1st. That's Sam Thomas, WROE. That's topics@firstrow.com. Looking forward to the next time that we see you guys live. Thank you guys for sitting with us. Until then, one love, peace, God bless.